Welcome to Tenuto Talks.
Hello and welcome to our introductory episode of Tenuto Talks, where we discuss their music and give our thoughts. I'm Julia.
And I'm Murray.
So first we wanted to talk about the name of our podcast, Tenuto Talks. And tenuto is a musical term. It's an Italian word which in music it means to stress a note or to give extra emphasis to it, to kind of linger on it. And so we thought that that was pretty appropriate for our podcast in which we talk about music and give our thoughts and kind of dwell on the things that we thought about it.
We take the 3 songs and we're sort of stressing them. Mm-hmm. We're going to pick them apart, tease them apart, and be like, these are our thoughts.
Yeah, so every episode we have 3 songs, and we have a theme that relate to the songs, and then we give our thoughts and have a little conclusion at the end.
Heck yeah. So tenuto is like the little line over the music, right?
Yes, exactly. So if you had a note, like the staccato is the dot, and a tenuto is a longer line, so basically in the same spot.
You're teaching a kid, they see the line early in music and piano. It's just like, stress it.
Yeah.
And they're just like, what do you mean? Like
draw it out.
Yeah, hold your finger down on the key, like make a big deal of it. But it's...
Exactly. But it's not quite an accent that you punch it. It's more of a dwelling.
It's a feeling.
Everything in music is, exactly.
Yeah. So get ready for some big feelings.
Yes. So we decided to start this podcast because we're both musicians and we thought, hey, we have some pretty cool ideas about music and songs in general, and we found a bunch of songs that all relate to one another, so we thought, why don't we share this with anyone who wants to listen?
Exactly, and post 6 years of post-secondary music school, we've heard a lot of other people's thoughts about music.
Yeah, it's time to give ours.
Yeah, we're usually there taking notes, agreeing or disagreeing, but yeah, the tables have turned.
Definitely.
Like, how can we orate if we don't become orators? So we both went to music school. A little bit of different backgrounds, but some similar themes.
Quite similar, yeah. Do you want to go first and
yeah, for sure.
talk a little bit about your background?
So I grew up in not a super musical family. My parents don't play, they don't sing, and it was important to me through school. I joined choir pretty young, and then my great-grandmother was musical, but not formally educated, so played by ear, and I wanted in. So I started piano lessons pretty young, but she also had a barn full of I want to say 12, but it was more like 24 cats that we would go and feed porridge, which I know isn't proper, but piano, then cats. So I wanted to do both. She took me up to RCM grade 4, and then I got to take lessons in town. Then, just piano through. I knew I knew how to read music by the time we started band in school. So then I had a foot in the door there. In high school, I played piano for the choirs at all 3 schools, and then started playing in church with a friend, originally as the substitute organist, but I didn't play the organ. I would play the piano when she was out of town. But then we started playing duets and had a musical relationship in that way, that there was just a compatible sense that we didn't have to say start and go. We would just play with each other like that.
I love that.
Yeah, those relationships are hard to find, so shout out to Vivian. Then high school ends. I didn't really like any other classes but music, but no, I knew I wanted to study it at the post-secondary level. So I drove to Nanaimo and started at Vancouver Island University, formerly Malaspina College, which was the last year of their classical program. It was a jazz school, and I don't like jazz. So
I can agree with you on that one.
The music or the people. So that was tough. But there were some good times. There were 4 classical kids. We hunkered down and learned some counterpoint and did some juries, and there's nothing like a jury to
kill the joy.
Yeah. Just these images of people crying before and after playing their tests or singing their tests.
It's a scarring experience, being judged so much
Ooh,
like that.
Like it wasn't med school, but yeah, the competitive nature of it. I've looked back and thought, like, I didn't really want to do any of that. I just wanted to sit at the piano and play. It was never for the esteem of any of that. But that, I guess you just had to do it if you wanted to keep making music. So then I transferred to Bishop's and moved into musicology, and that department was run by musicologists. So 2 or 3 courses every semester of just music history. And that was informative in a way that you learn a lot of music really quick. And those classes, there were textbooks and stuff, but at that school, the profs would stand up and show you the music that meant something to them. So I remember one, he was like, this is an album, it was Schubert, but that I turned to, in tough times. I don't care about at the time I was like, I don't care about your tough times, Ross, like, is this on the test? But looking back, it was just like he was opening up and being vulnerable about life is hard.
Put his personal touch.
Of
course.
This is some music that means something to me. So I think that's part of this too, like the songs we're going to be talking about, whether they've been our lifelong favorites or are sort of new to us, are important in some way. And that's not often talked about. So and then Dal during a pandemic, those were tough days, but it was also informative. It was a new level of musicologists talking about things.
What is musicology?
Musicology, Julia, as everyone asks me in real life, right? What did you study? And I don't want to say piano, and I don't want to say music, so it's just like, I say musicology, which is the study of music history. And then usually they'll leave me alone. But for the sake of this, because even some musicians have been like, what? It's the people that write about music, talk about it in a cultural sense, or would write the album notes, in the old CD covers kind of thing. Or like concert reviews. Like there's many different positions, but that's what I say musicology is.
I like to say it's the academic side of music.
Yeah.
That's what my general response
That's a good definition.
Yeah, because you're right, it can be program notes is what we would call it in classical music. It's just the background, what it means, what the historical context was.
Exactly. And having been to the musicologist conference in the States.
Yeah, the American Musicological Society. It's a mouthful.
We were there on Zoom, and the topics were so wide-ranging that it's hard to even define it as a practice,
It's true, and I remember growing up kind of thinking that classical music was the only music worth studying and really thinking about. That was a mindset that I think a lot of classical musicians have.
Totally.
And then going to this conference, seeing papers on Taylor Swift or Cyndi Lauper or video game music. Just opens a lot of thought doors.
And like those people taking it so seriously. It wasn't like, now I'm going to be talking about Taylor Swift. It was like, here's the theory and all of this. Like, this stuff is serious. It needs to be talked about. So, but definitely the highbrow, lowbrow. Like classical is highbrow, jazz, pop are lowbrow, and I think that we need to get away from that sort of binary thinking, and that's what we're going to be doing here too, a mix of English, French, and just different genres and how they connect and have touched our lives.
All music is valid.
Yes, exactly. It's a musical safe space.
Worth making.
So give me your background. What has your musical life looked like?
So I grew up in Ottawa, and I started singing in choirs from a very young age. And my family's mostly scientists with some musical inclinations. None of them were professional musicians, but that doesn't mean you're not a musician. And so while they were all very supportive of my musical endeavors, it was a little bit from a distance where there was the space between the music maker and the audience, which is something that happens a lot, but I don't think you need to be a professional music maker to call yourself a musician. That's a different topic, though.
Ooh, I like that, though, like the on the stage, off the stage, like the two solitudes. Separation. Like you're alone doing your thing up there, they're alone watching. And there is a disconnect, because it's the same. My parents, they didn't play, they didn't know how to perform. So you would have been the first generation performer, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I never thought about that, but that sounds about right. And I went to a performing arts high school, which was great, good for me at the time. But as all high schools go, you're very ready to leave by the end of it. So that taught me a lot. I was in some great choirs there, and I learned a lot. And pursuing my post-secondary education, I went to the University of Ottawa.
Just down the road from high
Just-
school.
Yeah, same city, exactly. I didn't live at home, but I was still very close to where my parents were. And I started there in 2015. There was this, in high school, you had the idea that you're pretty good, you're a good musician, and then you get to university and it's a little bit of a shock that there are even other talented people in the world.
Small pond, big fish.
Yes.
Suddenly, huge pond.
Yeah.
Small scared fish.
Exactly. So there I had a lot of confidence issues, and my voice teacher was, let's just say, not ideal for me. She worked for a lot of other people, but for me it didn't click, it's kind of like friends. Some people you just don't click with and you can't be friends. Some teachers it's not gonna work out, which is fine. So there I didn't have a great time. I graduated and everything in 2019 and was ready to move on with my with my life. And the next year I took a year off school and I taught at a small local music school, which was great. I got to meet a lot of fun people and learn a lot of new things, which was really nice to have a professional music world experience instead of just the school, you're here for grades.
Less pressure of performing too, right? I played the teacher role for a couple years too, and it was like, you're still in music, but you're not practicing for your recital. You're not you're not getting the comments, you're giving the comments.
Yeah, which is a cool power shift.
It is
almost. And sometimes I would question, am I even qualified to be saying these things?
Me too.
Who else is more qualified to teach these children?
Day one, our boss didn't give out, like a syllabus. It wasn't like teach this, it was just like,
go do your own thing.
Go teach. My dad's like, what are you going to teach?
What does that mean?
I don't know. G and C. Like, you just kind of...
You make it up.
Yeah.
And then you see what works and what doesn't.
I had to think about what I had been taught and what had stuck and what I found effective. But that is trial and error.
Absolutely. Poor kids who had to be within like the first month of our teaching.
The first year. Because then when they wouldn't understand something, I'd say... My young brain was just like, I'll just say it louder. Like, well, no, you should have rephrased that.
Yeah,
so
say it in a different way. And then after that year of teaching, I moved to Halifax and went to Dalhousie. That was September 2020. So like you said, I guess we moved here probably around the same time.
Yep.
And very isolating due to the plague going on in the world. And all our classes were online. So it was a very new approach to school, perhaps.
Into a very small group too, right? We were 4
there were
at day
4
one,
of us,
and our classes had been small at Bishop's, like between like 10 and 30, but this was
the master's program of 4 people was...
Those were some pretty anxious first days, and the imposter syndrome, and
yeah, for sure.
Am I supposed to be here? Do I know how to talk about music?
All these other people seem like they know more than
Yes. Am I supposed to be here? Like, they let me in for a reason.
Yeah.
But it still was pretty scary.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wondering if you're even qualified to be there. But
so you made me think of something. For those of you who haven't gone to music school, I haven't not gone to music school in a way that I haven't like studied other things. But I think that there's a difference between maybe going to school for math, where you go and you do your math, and I'm not simplifying it or like downplaying it, but with music, and more so I will say like with singing, but even with piano, like that was a part of my ego, a part of my identity. It wasn't just for a mark, it wasn't just to get the degree, it was like this is my art form, this is my self-expression.
Yeah.
So then if it is like, well, that didn't match up with the rubric, or I had teachers too where it's just like they were on a totally different planet. Like at the end of a course you kind of understand what a teacher's looking for, and then you crack the code and you kind of just give them that. But there's some where it's just like we could not get on the same page. Like I didn't understand them, they didn't understand my background or the way that I was taught, and it's just hard to have marks on your transcript where they like jazz keyboarding. I didn't want to do jazz, but it was required.
Are you sure?
Like I like some jazz now, but I can't oh, I can't. But anyway, so yeah, that mark was not good. And it was like, how can I, a keyboard major, have a keyboarding class that's not a good mark?
Right. I think in science and maths and things that there are mostly definite answers.
Yeah.
It is a different thing than the social sciences to study and arts. There's never really a right answer.
Yeah.
And when you do have your courses that are you performing, when someone is judging you and giving you a mark, we were taught that if you got over an 80, it was exceptional.
Yeah.
But that doesn't even mean you did everything right or wrong or 80%
Totally.
correct.
It's subjective.
Exactly. So there is that difference. I think that was hard to explain to some people. Why did you get a B+ in your course? Because there's no right or wrong. It's very much up to the professor. Sometimes if they like you or not.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And some profs just don't give above an 80. But you had done like the singing RCM exams.
I had.
Okay, so I had done the piano ones young too, and that was a big thing that teachers had taught me then. Like, you're not going to get above an 80. Like, even if it's perfect, even if you look cute, like all that stuff, you're not, there's no getting 100%. So.
No, music will never be perfected.
No.
I guess was what was drilled into us.
And then, it is so subjective because I had some profs that were old school. They had been educated in Eastern Europe, and some from here and some from across Canada. And their grading scale was just, you never knew what you were going to get.
It's a bit of an ego check in the way that you learn that you're not defined and you're not valued based on the number that's on the page.
Which was a new discovery for me because
Yeah.
I like to define myself by those good jobs or you could have done better.
It's like a very concrete thing to look at.
But then when we were handed those essays as TAs here at Dal to mark undergrad essays, and I read them and marked them, but I could just put whatever number. And that kind of was like, oh, I realized in that moment that like every mark that I had been given before was just sort of as seemingly ambiguous as whatever mark I was going to write down on that paper.
It's being on the other side of the equation. Yeah. It's a difficult thing, and it is very subjective. And usually if the student comes to you and asks, why did I get this mark? Can I have a higher mark? Usually you just give them a few percentages more, because
it's a negotiation.
It's hard to justify in a way.
It is.
Yeah.
Ooh, I got an essay back once, and she just said, I disagree.
Oh, okay.
If that wasn't an invitation to discuss, I don't know what was. So, I marched into her office, and I wasn't mad. I wasn't even going to ask for more marks because I didn't think I deserved them. And she got pretty defensive. Like, you want to fight?
Okay.
She's like, no. But, like, why do you disagree?
Right.
Like, I had written this for her.
I want to know the other perspective.
What did I get wrong here?
Yeah.
But,
It's a lot of opinions and other people's egos that they might be scared of getting hurt.
Profs' baggage, right? They had a prof that did that to them. It's like,
the cycle continues.
The trauma trickles down.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so more up to recent
Yeah, what are you up to
days.
now?
I graduated in May of 2022.
Woo.
Just recently, and
the only one in our program. The lone soldier of the four of us that graduated on time. That's an achievement.
Here I am. Yeah, my thesis is 80 pages.
That's an achievement.
Let me know if you want to read it. I'll send it to you for free.
She got PDF versions.
Yeah, I'll send it out. It was basically my subject was operatic performance and performance practice and how we teach that. So there's a bit of musicology, a bit of pedagogy, and a bit of performance also sprinkled in there. Because I don't think I ever wanted to just do musicology, because that seems like a box that I wanted more than that. So I'm glad I was able to negotiate that with the professors, say, I want to do something with pedagogy and performance. And it took a little bit of warming up, but I think eventually
they were so chill, right? Like the topics, our other classmates too, from like TikTok music, and then the year before us there was so much medieval stuff and like looking at old chants in Europe. Like they're just like, as long as you're talking about music at the end of the day, if you want to write 80 pages, like we're gonna let you.
What was your specific
my area here at Dal? Well, I had done an honors in my undergrad project, so that was like 45 pages. So I had done a big paper on domestic violence and feminism in country music. So I had looked at the music from like the 80s and 90s and done some done some teasing a part of those songs. So then getting here, there wasn't really a country music scholar, but that was fine. They accepted, my plan, my scheme, whatever I want to call it. But I was looking at gender non-conforming Canadian artists, specifically Katie Lang and Ray Spoon, who in the country music genre as well have sort of paved the way for other non-binary or trans artists and the different nuances of voice and hormone therapy and that kind of stuff. So I like to say I'm on a sabbatical right now from that. Taking a couple years to cool off.
Take your time.
Those 12-hour days on the laptop of online school crush the soul.
Absolutely, yeah.
I can't even find the soul some days, but it's going to come back.
I think so.
I'm going to want to finish that one day. Plus, I have 80 pages of research already. I just have to write
You're
that.
on your way.
Just have to buckle down.
Yeah.
Maybe when I'm 30. So now I'm just chilling and excited to be having this opportunity to talk about music with someone that...
Yeah, it's our little outlet.
We know all the same terms and, our educations were similar, but... Even if we'd been at the same schools all along, we would have different outlooks. So.
Different experiences.
Yeah.
Yet similar. Yeah. And I'm teaching still, and I love teaching voice, and that's partially why I did some work on pedagogy in my thesis research, because teaching is it's such a joyful experience when you get to see someone else succeed and help them.
Oh, heck yeah.
Achieve their potential.
Do you want to define pedagogy?
Oh, I think, I took a few courses on it
I took one too.
At Ottawa U, and we talked about different age groups and how they learn. So we did a course specifically, music for young children, which was, I think, 7 and under.
Nightmare material.
Oh yeah, this is quite complicated. But it has to do with, when you're at that age, it's what your body and brain is capable of understanding. But I like to think of it as the theories we use to teach, or the concepts we use to teach. Because in singing, for example, there are many schools of thought. There's the way that I was taught, which I like that, and I keep some elements of that, but there's also other elements that you can implement. So I think each individual teacher has their own version of pedagogy. It's kind of, you take what you like, you throw away the rest, and then you kind of piece together your own teaching puzzle.
Very eloquently put.
Thank you.
We had a pedagogy class, and everyone had to take a band instrument that they had no experience on.
Yeah.
We had to sit as a orchestra, and at the end of the semester, you had to be able to play in this band.
Yeah.
So the idea of, as an adult, you go through that experience again, starting something new, you figuring out how you're gonna learn it, and then we would go over the instruments and stuff, and even in orchestration, learning about each instrument is kind of like that, how to write the scores and how to do, learning how to teach. And I mean, those theories, you're still going to be figuring out new ways to teach your whole life.
And each student is different, because if there's one thing that you've used for 10 years and this phrase always makes people understand, one day there will be a student that you say this phrase to them over and over and they don't know what you mean. So you have to figure out a different way to say it, or to make them understand the concept, which I always really like. It's like a puzzle.
Oh my God,
what
totally.
are you going to say that's going to click?
Exactly, because every kid is different. So I started Piano Kids usually on the same book, and by the Christmas recital, one boy was playing a Beatles song. It wasn't me. I can't say everything I said just clicked. He had an aptitude for it. Yeah. Same kid, different kid, but had lessons on the same day. We're sitting at the Christmas recital, and they forget which numbers are which fingers. The 1 to 5 hadn't clicked. I'm putting their fingers down on the keys. I'm just wow, that spectrum of learning is so vast.
Everyone has their own pace.
Yeah, because what you said about age too, what they can handle at that age, had that child have started lessons at a different time, 5 years down the line, because there are people that start music and quit. It doesn't feel good to them or whatever, and it's always come back later. Your brain in a couple of years could be totally ready for it. You could enjoy it at a different level. Yeah, teaching is fun but hard, so...
It's challenging.
I'm excited to see your studio grow.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah, this year, feeling good about it.
Yeah, first year, no big writing papers. Like, this is your
Crazy. It's my time.
this is your time to shine.
Exactly.
And maybe write some papers for fun.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to get into that a bit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to approach writing from a different...
Keep those skills up,
standpoint.
right? Like,
It's
not
true.
like, oh, I have a deadline and
Yeah.
this mean prof is gonna say this. Can we enjoy
Yeah.
writing? Can we enjoy music again? Like, is that allowed?
I think so. I think this podcast is maybe our path to think about it more as a fun thing rather than work.
Yeah, totally.
And I think sharing that journey with people is important.
Yeah, so we're excited to have y'all, anybody that's listening here. We have some fun episodes coming up. We got some plans, we got some songs, and we'll try to mix in the pop music with some pretty nerdy stuff.
Yes.
Some niche, deep cuts from the Middle Ages till now.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up for now. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Tenuto Talks, their music, our thoughts. I'm Julia.
I'm Murray.
Take care. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, do.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome.
to
Sorry.
Tenuto
I just got scared.
Okay.
Do.
Yeah. We can do it as many times as we want. So
Okay.
there's like no pressure.
Okay.
Okay. 1, 2.
Welcome to Tenuto Talks.
That was pretty good.
That was okay.
One more time, then we have to leave a little bit of silence at the end.
Oh, okay, so cut off. You could cut us off.
Okay. Yeah. 1, 2,
Welcome to Tenuto Talks.
One more time, just for to be safe.
For posterity.
What?
Welcome to Tenuto Talks. Wow.
Is our addiction understandable?
I think it sounded pretty proper.